Hi, everybody. It's Rob Astorino. We're going to start this in about 30 seconds or so. Just want to allow some more people to get on the line. But if you just be patient with me, just hold on a little bit, and we'll start. And give you a chance to also, you can ask questions by just hitting 0. And you can get in the queue to ask me a question directly. So just hang on 1 second. I'll be right with you. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Rob Astorino, Westchester County Executive, and I'm running for governor. I'm in Utica right now, and I wanted to just talk to you about things that matter to you. I want to get your opinions. If you want to ask me a question, you dial 0, and you can ask a question directly to me, by the way. And I'm grateful for you taking a little time out of your crazy schedule. I know it's dinner time. I know kids have homework and all that stuff. I'm a parent too. My wife and I have 3 little ones, an 11, 9, and 4-year-old, so I know how hectic it can be. But, I want to just sort of ask a rhetorical question first, and that is, as a state, are we winning or losing? And it's going to be answered, and when you think about it, under really all objective standards, New York State is just losing and losing badly. And it's not the Mohawk Valley specific. It's not the Southern Tier. It's New York State. We're losing. We've got the highest taxes in America. We've got the worst economic outlook, the worst business climate. I don't know if any of you saw this, but the AARP came out with a survey the other day, and it's scary. 60% of those who are aged 50 and above are likely or somewhat likely to leave New York State. We've got the most corruption in any state, and unfortunately, as you probably know, Governor Cuomo is under investigation by the federal government. Prosecutors looking into his role in the Moreland Commission scandal and his direct role in that corruption. So there's a lot of problems, and the fact that 400,000 New Yorkers have left this state in the last 4 years is indicative of where we're going as a state, and that the opportunities just aren't here right now, and people are escaping to get rid of the highest taxes and the bad economy and following their family who is leaving for a better state. And it doesn't have to be that way, and that's why I'm running. And in Westchester, where I'm county executive, we cut county property taxes more than any county in New York. Our budget today is smaller than what it was when I walked in, $1.8 billion 4 years ago when I walked in the door, and it's $1.7 billion now. We had 30,000 new private sector jobs created in our county because I worked with the business community to knock down some of the worst regulations and those things that were just inhibiting any growth. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates now, and we also have AAA credit ratings. So we're doing the right thing, and I got elected in a 2-to-1 Democratic county because I promised the people that we were going to live within our means and find that balance between what we could afford and what we really need. And that's why the promises that I made we kept, and I got reelected by 13 points in a very Democratic county. Westchester's 1 million people. It's 2-to-1 Democrat. So I got elected with Democratic support, and I'm asking Democrats to support me again this year, and that's how we're going to win. And so I want to just have a dialogue with you to find out what's most important to you, and ask me any question, including, by the way, and I'll just talk about this now before I take the first question. Is you've seen all these ads on TV. They're despicable, by the way. that Cuomo was running. He spent over $16 million in pure negative, false advertising against me. The audacity to even insinuate that I am somehow under investigation for criminal activity, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Don't you think you'd be hearing about that every day or reading about that in the paper if it were true? There's only one of us that's running for governor that's under criminal investigation for corruption, and that's Andrew Cuomo by the federal prosecutors. And so, unfortunately, he is just running these ads because he can. He's got all the money, but it does not make them true. And it deflects from him trying to talk about the economy or anything else, which he refuses to do. So I want to ask you to participate. Ask me a question, any question you have. I also hope that you go to robastorino.com, which is my website. And on that is everything about me personally, also about my record in Westchester, and our plans to move this state forward, including how we're going to revitalize the economy and bring jobs back to the Mohawk Valley and the Southern Tier and all of New York, and our education plan, which includes getting rid of Common Core, which includes repealing the SAFE Act, which includes jumpstarting the economy and getting rid of the despicable corruption out of Albany right now, which is tainting everything that happens in this state. So ask me a question. All you got to do is hit 0, and you can ask me a question. So I really appreciate it. And let's see, who's going to be first? All right, Raymond in Rome. How are you, Raymond?
Hi.
How are you?
Are you Rob?
I'm Rob. Nice to talk to you.
Okay. My question was on the SAFE Act, but
yes.
Another one is, what is your take on this global warming baloney? Do you think it's real?
Well, let me talk to you about the
SAFE
SAFE Act first and foremost, because we can control that here. The issue is Andrew Cuomo overnight made legal citizens, legal gun owners, into criminals overnight with the SAFE Act. I call it the unsafe. And Sheriff Chris Moss, the sheriff of Chemung County, who is my running mate, we are both pledging to repeal the SAFE Act, and we can do that, and we will do that, and hopefully every gun owner in New York, and certainly any gun owner who is listening right now, you have got to get out and vote for us, because if you don't, a second term of Andrew Cuomo is going to include what he's already talked about, confiscation.
That's true.
And it's going to get worse.
And I don't want Cuomo in.
So
I don't want Cuomo to get another term.
Well, you can make that happen by voting, not only voting for me, Rob Astorino, but also for speaking to your neighbors, talking to your neighbors, putting a lawn sign up, donating some money, putting a bumper sticker on.
I've been talking about it, and I've got guns. I go to rifle range. I go to a pistol range. I've had a pistol license for almost 10 years, and I've had rifles for longer than that. And my guns never killed anybody. They never got out of my gun cabinet.
That's right.
The SAFE Act, Governor Cuomo pushed that through, and the shooting happened in New Jersey. It didn't even happen in New York. Why was he sticking his nose in? Yeah,
it happened in Connecticut, but he was wrong to do what he did, because he took it out on legal gun owners instead of doing what I did in Westchester. And thank you, Raymond. What we did in Westchester in response to Newtown was 180 degrees different than Cuomo. We went after the mental health crisis, the loopholes. We worked with the mental health community, the nonprofits, the religious community, educators, and law enforcement in not stigmatizing, but actually getting help for those who need it. And we've zeroed in on chronic absenteeism to get kids back in the classroom, and something called, and we adopted it countywide, the first county to do it, youth mental health first aid. In other words, first responders, basically, for people who come in contact with kids. It could be religious, it could be coaches, it could be anybody, to see some of the warning signs, to confront it, and to turn them over to the professionals. Thank you very much, Raymond. Megan in Oneida, how are you, Megan?
Hello.
Hi, Megan. It's Rob Astorino.
Hi, how are you? Good. I'm inquiring about what your outlook is on getting manufacturing back into the Oneida area.
Great. I met today in Syracuse with MACNY, the Manufacturers Association of Central New York. And the biggest concerns that they've had, aside from the highest taxes, which have to come down, are the excessive regulations that we have in this state that are driving businesses away. Manufacturing also relies on energy. It needs to consume a lot of energy, and the rates in New York are extraordinarily high. And so to bring down energy costs, guess what we need? We need natural gas. Well, we're blessed with natural gas in the Utica and Marcellus shales, which encompasses about 2/3 of this state. And yet we've got a governor who refuses to move forward on natural gas exploration because he's politically paralyzed on this. And yet all the science says, the National Academy of Sciences, this week the Energy Department for the United States, the Interior Department, the EPA, have all said that natural gas drilling is safe and that there's not one documented case of water contamination. So here's an opportunity to lower energy costs, which will bring back manufacturing, lower costs for you too, by the way, in your home. It'll bring billions in revenue to the state, which we could use to lower taxes or to help create jobs or put back into public education where they've taken away a lot of money. And it will create tens of thousands of very needed jobs here in New York. So I have said in the first 90 days, we're going to move forward, set up the right regulations, protect the public health and water supply, but then go forward. And that's the biggest thing that can bring manufacturing back, as well as changing the economic policies out of Albany, which are just driving businesses out of this state left and right. Thank you very much, Megan. I got to ask you a question before I ask everyone else to join. You can take part in this, okay? So here's the question. If the election were held today, who would you vote for governor? Me, Rob Astorino, or Andrew Cuomo?
You.
Press 1 on your phone right now. Press 1 if you're going to vote for me, Rob Astorino. Press 2 if you're going to vote to re-elect Governor Cuomo. Or press 3 if you're undecided. And it's anonymous, don't worry. So we just want to get sort of an idea of what people are thinking right now. If you got a question for me, Rob Astorino, please just dial 0 and I'll get you up here. And for more information on me, go to robastorino.com or follow me on Facebook. You can follow me via Twitter, and that's how we're going to have a nice two-way conversation. Hamilton County, Art, how are you? Art? Calling Art once, calling Art twice. Art from Hamilton. Are you there, Art?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sir. What's your question?
My question is, how can you go about to reinvigorate the Moreland Commission to bring about the corruption in the New York State Legislature and the governor's office, which Andy cleverly killed when it got close to his office because it was his commission. This is an outright scandal. And additionally, years ago, I asked Senator Dave Valesky face-to-face in the village of Hamilton, I asked him, how can we go about eliminating all of these commissions and all of these different phony committees and commissions, of which there are, like 222 in the state. We have to get rid of these because they are wasting taxpayers' money and they are doing absolutely nothing. So that's a double-barreled question for you, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Art. If you're in Hamilton County, which I think you are, I just visited there the other day in Indian Village, beautiful county. Anyway, the question about the Moreland Commission, well, first of all, he may be indicted. This governor may be indicted by U.S. prosecutors because of the scandal and because of the corruption and his role in pushing away subpoenas from his supporters and demanding that certain people get investigated, but not his friends and not the Democratic Party in this case too. That's being investigated by Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney. Our ethics plan, which is on robastorino.com, calls for several things that would change the system pretty drastically, led by term limits. I'm a strong believer in term limits. In Westchester, where I'm county executive, we instituted term limits in my first year in office. And I think 8 years is plenty. for a statewide elected official like the governor. And quite frankly, 8 years should be enough for a legislator too. And that gives people an opportunity to move up or move out, but it also brings fresh ideas. People don't get stagnant. They don't get tempted. The system moves. And so ethics is really important. I would also strip away the pensions of anybody in elected office who's convicted of a felony on corruption charges. They should lose their pension. So those are two of the platform items of the 10-point plan that I hope you read on robastorino.com. Shirley in Central Square. Shirley, what county is Central Square in?
Oswego County.
Oswego. We were just there the other night. Beautiful.
It is.
What's your question?
Well, I've lived here all my life, and I'm 68 years old, and the property taxes are forcing me out of the state, along with a lot of people who have fled the state because of it. We're in a very rural area. Oswego is not, is not downstate, and so we really need support up here for not only manufacturing, but some relief with property taxes, which I know comes along with the fact that you got to have income coming in, so you got to have, storefronts being viable. I just would like to know what your plans are for the upstate area.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. The property taxes are the highest in the country. Taxes overall are the highest in the country here in New York. And it's forcing people, as you just said, Shirley, it's forcing people out in record numbers. I live on a quarter-acre piece of property in Westchester, quarter acre. Our house is like 1,900 square feet, and we're paying $16,000 in property taxes. It's ludicrous. It's insane. And the vast middle class cannot afford it anymore. Those on fixed incomes, like you just mentioned, seniors, can't afford it anymore. The biggest scare that we should all have right now is Andrew Cuomo has publicly said that he is going to join forces with the New York City-led Working Families Party, which is calling for higher taxes, more regulations on businesses, and more spending in this state, none of which we can afford. We are dead last in the country, dead last, 50th out of 50 states, and they want to go higher. I'm here to say we're going the opposite direction, just like we did in Westchester County where we cut property taxes. And that's what we need to do in New York overall, because the other thing people don't realize, the property tax cap expires in 2 years. I don't think we should let it expire. I think we should make it permanent so it does keep things in check. But we also need mandate relief from Albany, which is driving up the costs of property taxes all over because local schools and communities can't afford it. They can't afford the bills that they get from Albany. And speaking of property taxes, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but Andrew Cuomo is a tax cheat. And I don't say that lightly, by the way. The house that he lives in Westchester, he did major renovations to that house in 2009. And they invited the press and some of the national publications to take pictures, etc. Well, the problem is he never took out the building permits that he was required to do. And so for the last 5 years, he has underpaid his property taxes by the tune of over $30,000. And he refuses to show the building permits because he doesn't have them. And he won't let the tax assessor come in to reassess his house, so he pays his fair share. So while you and I are paying what we're supposed to pay and we go through the process, Andrew Cuomo thinks he's above the law. I mean, literally thinks he's above the law, that it doesn't apply to him, and underpaid his property taxes by over $30,000 a year. I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with in this state, and that's why he's under investigation for corruption, because I don't think he cares what the law is in some cases. So I get it, Shirley. That's why we cut taxes in Westchester, and it's why I'm running. Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. One more time, if the election were held today, would you vote for me, Rob Astorino, for governor? Would you vote for Andrew Cuomo to reelect him? That's number 2. Or if you're undecided, press 3. And we're just more curious than anything, and it's anonymous. All right, Dave. How are you, Dave? Where are you from, Dave? Dave? No? All right. Again, go to robastorino.com. if you want more information on my platform, that's the best way that we're going to have a two-way dialogue. Dave, you there?
Yes.
Hi, Dave. Where are you from? What county?
Oneida County.
Oneida. Okay, great. That's where I am right now. All right, Dave, what's up?
My question, you answered one part of it, the corruption on Cuomo's part, but his ads against you are claiming the same thing.
Yep.
What's with that?
What's that?
I say,
Totally false.
What's up with that?
Totally false. So false, by the way, that a major cable station in New York has pulled those ads down. And don't you think if I were under investigation that it would be in the newspaper every day? And this is based upon a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit that was filed 5 days before Election Day last year when I was running for re-election by two people, both of whom have filed lawsuits left and right against everybody in the world all the time. One person who is the Independence Party chairman in Westchester, who was being investigated by the Moreland Commission for pay-to-play scandal, for no-show jobs, for pension scandals, and he was protected by Andrew Cuomo, who shut down the commission so they didn't get to this guy. The other guy was just arrested and indicted by the feds for fraud and tax evasion and many other things, and has such a violent history that the judge, the federal judge in this case, has denied him bail, and he's going to stay in jail until his trial. So both of these dubious men at best, their lawsuit is baseless and will be thrown out, and Cuomo's whole negative campaign is based upon these two gentlemen. And I have said to Cuomo, pull down your ads or stand by these two dubious guys and own them, because it's despicable what he is doing and what he's getting away with. And if it weren't politics, I would sue him for libel and slander, and I'd win. But he's got $16 million in dirty dollars that he's already spent on negative ads, and $250 million in your money in Startup New York campaign ads. And that's what he's going to try to do for the next 43 days. So I'm glad you asked it. Please tell your friends it is totally false, and I appreciate it very much. Dominic, where are you calling from, Dominic?
Broome County, New York.
It sounds like you're calling from underwater. You got a bad connection here, but I'll try it a little more. So where are you calling from?
Broome County, New York.
We're going to have to let you go, Dom. Unfortunately, it's a terrible connection, and we can't make it out. Let's go to, let's see, Helga. Helga here in Oneida County. How are you, Helga?
I'm fine. I've enjoyed listening to you, and I usually consider myself a good, loyal Democrat, but not so much anymore.
Hate that.
My question is, we're retired. We don't pay income tax because we don't make enough, and it seems the government thinks that us poor people here who have paid Social Security for many, many years don't deserve any more than 1.5% increase once in a while to, add to our Social Security payments. And that's not enough to live by. Look at the gas alone to get back and forth to the doctors or anything. That's hard.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that 2% tax cap or whatever, that's a joke. I live in Madison County.
Helga, you got it right. I tell you.
I know it,
and
but they
first
keep
of all, the fact
overriding
that
it.
a self-identified Democrat and you'll consider voting for me means a lot to me, and it's how I got elected in Westchester, which is 2-1 Democratic County, and I won a large amount of Democrats who voted for me twice, when I first ran in 2009 and in my re-election last year. So I hope we got a lot of Helgas who are going to vote for me around the state, and I really appreciate it. And you're exactly right. It is increasingly impossible in some ways for people in the state to continue to live here. Seniors who are on a fixed income,
Exactly.
You just mentioned about your cost of living increases that are very low.
Yeah.
Fixed income where
They're very low.
Right, and where your taxes unfortunately go up higher than your cost of living increases or your pension or your Social Security. So that's why when I talk about, and I talk very passionately about this, we're losing in record numbers our own population. Our biggest export in New York is our people, and it should be.
Yep.
You know, and I like you, many other people, they don't want to leave. They love New York. This is where you're born and raised, probably, where you raised your kids,
Yep.
where you had your job and your memories. The last thing you want to do is have to move to Florida or North Carolina or wherever you're thinking of going because there's no more opportunity here or the state's forcing you out. And, you know, there's something called zombie houses. And this is where people are literally walking away from their homes. They can't sell them. The taxes are too high. They're underwater on their mortgage, so they just simply walk away. And it's happening in record numbers right now, all across the state and all across the country, too. And that just is indicative of what we're doing right now in this economy and how badly New York is right now. So it shouldn't be like a prison sentence living in New York where you just count the days away till you can get out of here. It shouldn't be like that. But that's unfortunately what's happening everywhere I go. People are like, well, I'm out of here in 2 years. My kids go to college. We're selling the house. Or I'm retiring in a year or two. We're fleeing this state. I don't want to hear that anymore. We can change this state and turn it around, but we've got to change governors in order to do that. So, Helga, God bless you. Thank you so much for asking a question. Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. Bob, how are you? Where are you from, Bob? Where are you from, Bob?
Hello, Rob.
Yes.
Hello, Rob. Oneida County.
Okay.
I'm afraid that Andy's gonna win, and I'm terrified about it because of all these uninformed voters. This Andrew Cuomo is ruining the state with that SAFE Act, and that Remington is moving out. They're going to close. And he's trying to encourage all these businesses to come up to New York with the free taxes for 10 years. He can't even keep the businesses that we have now. This guy is ridiculous. I mean, he is out of sight. We got to get rid of him. I want site signs, and I want bumper stickers saying Astorino. I want them, and I'm going to plaster them all over my house. This guy's got to get the hell out of here.
Well, Bob, I appreciate it. And by the way, you can get your lawn signs, your bumper stickers from the Oneida County GOP, just like wherever county you are, you can get it from the county Republican headquarters. They're distributing it. Or, excuse me, you can email us on our website, robastorino.com, and we'll get it to you. And, Bob, thank you so much. I got one more question for you, okay? One more poll question. Besides taxes, because taxes are driving everybody nuts and driving everybody out, besides taxes and the economy, which issue is most important to you? Press 1 if it's Common Core, which I think needs to be repealed. Common Core needs to go. Press 2 if it's jobs through natural gas exploration, fracking. 3, repealing the SAFE Act. 4, the corruption, which needs to be cleaned up. Or 5, something else, none of the above. Okay? Press 1 for Common Core, which has to go. 2, jobs through fracking or natural gas. 3, repealing the SAFE Act. 4, corruption. Or 5, it would be something else. Okay? It's anonymous, but we would just like to get a snapshot of what you're thinking. And again, I'm Rob Astorino. I appreciate you being on this call. I'm running for governor on the Republican, on the Conservative, and on the Stop Common Core ballot line. So in 43 days, you got a big choice to make. Sylvia in Herkimer. How are you, Sylvia?
I'm fine, thank you.
How can I help you?
My question is, Herkimer County houses the largest gun manufacturer in the United States.
Remington.
Remington. Jobs.
Ilion, yep.
Taxes, economy, everything. What do you propose to do? I mean, the SAFE Act is now here with us.
But it can go away.
It can. Is there a chance for that to happen?
Yes.
What would you do to help this manufacturer stay here?
First of all, I have pledged, along with my Lieutenant Governor candidate, Chris Moss, the Sheriff of Chemung County, that we're going to repeal the SAFE Act. And that can be done. It will be done. And it's something that is very important to us. This SAFE Act alone probably caused Remington to decide to leave, to expand in Alabama as opposed to here. They're downsizing now. I've been to the plant twice. I've talked to some of the workers. I've talked to people in Ilion. And I have said very publicly to the people in Remington specifically, can you wait? Wait till January so I get there and we can change this state around, and you'll have an actual pro-business governor who will do everything possible to keep you here as opposed to chasing you away. And, you know, like Remington, there are so many other manufacturers who are just ready to close up. Many have, and they're ready to leave the Southern Tier or Central New York or the Mohawk Valley because the cost of doing business here is just exorbitant. It's the highest in the country. And, you know, I liken this when people say to me, well, come on, taxes, how much does taxes really matter? I mean, what can you do? Well, we cut taxes in Westchester more than any other county. And if you're driving down the road and your car is running out of gas and there's 2 gas stations to fill up in, one is selling it for $4.10 a gallon and the other one is selling it for $3.12 a gallon, where are you going to go? And if anyone thought $4.12 or $4.10, you're lying. You're going to go to the one that's $3.10. And that's the same with businesses, many of which are mobile now. You can do business anywhere. So do you choose to do it here, where it's the most expensive, or you choose to go to another state where you're invited, you're welcomed, it's a good business climate, the regulations are reasonable, not oppressive, and the taxes are lower? You're going to go to those states. That's what they're doing. So we got to dramatically change what's happening right now in this state. Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. Eric, how are you?
How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. Where are you from, Eric?
Madison, New York, Madison County.
Madison, all right. So what's your question?
Well, first off, I want to tell you I was down to Albany 2 or 3 times. You were down there last spring. We were down there to talk to Mr. Como, but, of course, he wasn't there. We were down there for the SAFE Act.
Yep.
But my big question is that he's blowing his horn that he has created 500,000 jobs in New York State. Where are they?
Yeah, other than the island, first of all, that number is way off. But other than the island of Manhattan and a few select neighborhoods in Brooklyn, the rest of this state is doing very poorly. The rest of the state lags way behind. In economic recovery, in job recovery, the national average is 1.7%, which is low. We're at 0.7%. We're well below the national average. We are lagging behind. Our unemployment rate is way higher than the national average. We are just bleeding people, losing jobs, losing businesses. That's the story of this state right now. And for Andrew Cuomo to suggest that this state is doing well is just so tone deaf to what's really happening in this state and what people are really feeling. People are anxious. They're worried. You know, I mean, where are you going to get money for the next emergency? Or are you going to actually be able to put money away in a 529 for your kids? Or you know, a nice thing like going on vacation, or necessities, actually, like, you know, keeping your business afloat, or putting food on the table, or wondering if that paycheck's going to actually be there, or are you going to get laid off? That's what average New Yorkers are talking about, and that's what I hear everywhere. So, I mean, he's just in a fantasy land. It's a total tone deaf to what's going on in this state. So, Eric, I thank you for asking that. Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. We'll probably be here another 10 minutes or so let's try to sneak in as many questions as we can get answered. In the meantime, please go to robastorino.com and learn more about me, what we stand for. Talk to your neighbors if you're inclined to support me or to vote for me. Feel free to make a donation online. That's how we're going to raise the money to get our message on TV and stay up. And put a bumper sticker on your car, a lawn sign in your lawn. Show support and just get out that vote on Election Day. And if you're a gun owner and you stay home on Election Day, shame on you. Because in the second term, if Cuomo gets elected, he's already talked about confiscation. And he's going to try to go very far left to try to build back his national liberal base, and he's going to come after you with a vengeance. So make sure you get out to vote and make sure you talk to all of your neighbors to do the same, Democrat or Republican. Terry, how are you, Terry? Where are you from?
I'm great, thank you. I'm Binghamton, New York.
All right.
Broome County?
Yep.
My
What's your question, Terry?
Is, our children are our greatest asset, And right now our education system is designed so that the teachers are forced to teach to a test, and our children are tested to death. The Common Core, which was instituted a few years ago, seems to even muddy the water further. Can you tell me what your plans are?
Yes. Great question, and thanks for asking that, Terry. I am a parent. My wife and I are the parents of a 6th grader, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner. I am the product of public schools. I was on a school board. My wife is a special education teacher. So we believe very strongly in public education. We have a state in New York that spends more on education than any state in America, and we're in the middle of the pack in results. So that's unacceptable. Common Core is not the answer. Common Core is, as you were describing it, forcing just test after test. And it is something that was developed in relative secrecy. It was born out of the federal government, really, and the Bill Gates Foundation. It did not have, or had very few, if any, teachers that developed these standards. And it's going to be the mother lode of all unfunded mandates to pay for this as we go forward. So keep that in mind. Common Core.
I was a teacher for 35 years, and I've just seen how things have gotten worse and worse as opposed to getting better and better in education.
And these teachers are becoming testing automatrons. They're they're forced to do now basically is teach around Common Core tests, and that's not what we need in this. I would go back. I would repeal Common Core, and what we would do, and other states are repealing it as well. I would roll back to where we were in 2008, 9, and 10, when the regents were working on what's called the lost standards. They were elevating the standards in New York, which we need. I'm absolutely for high standards. Elevating the standards, a rigorous curriculum, and de-emphasizing some of this testing and putting more decision-making and creativity on a local level with teacher input. That's what we need in this state. Also, go to my education plan online, robastorino.com. Because
okay, I will.
Because I will, aside from getting rid of Common Core, I think we need some bold reforms in the state. I would add 3 new diplomas that high school students can earn. And the biggest change, I think, would be to offer a career and technical diploma for kids who are not going to go to college for whatever reason. Maybe they can't take tests. Maybe they don't want to go to college, but they're skilled. They could have a wonderful career in the trades. And what we've gotten away from, and I just took my 11-year-old to middle school for the first time, 2 weeks ago when school started, and we went into my old high school and middle school where I graduated from, where he's now, and we were going around looking at his classrooms, and I was like, there's where the industrial arts were, that's where wood shop was, that's where this was, and they're all gone now. And we've gotten away from that, and I think we need to put that back into school so these kids can learn a trade if they're not ready or not going to college. Also, science, technology, engineering, and math. This is where the global economy is going, and we're importing students and skilled workers from other countries because we don't emphasize that now in college and in high school, so the jobs of the future are not being filled by New Yorkers and really by Americans. So that's another thing that we should do. I would also teach foreign languages in the elementary schools. That's when they need to learn it. I speak Spanish, and, learning it in 10th grade or 12th grade, when you don't want to be there, they got to learn it in the lower grades. And there's a whole plan there, which I hope you can read and go on robastorino.com. Let's sneak another question or two in here. Paul from Shenango County. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Just to preface this, I'm a registered Democrat who's going to vote for you.
Thank you, sir.
But I'm asking, you're welcome. You deserve it. But my question is, how are you going to reach the population of this state, which is a blue state, liberal? What kind of, I know it's a broad question, but if you could highlight some things, what are you going to campaign? Are you going to be able to win over the votes of the opposition?
Well, there are many more people like you, Paul, who are registered Democrats, who care about the same things as many other people. And it's why Andrew Cuomo was embarrassed in the Democratic primary. 40% of the Democratic voters voted against him. And Zephyr Teachout won 31 counties. And it was on the same issues people care about. They care about the corruption that's got to be cleaned up. They care about the SAFE Act, Common Core, the rotten economy and businesses and people leaving, high taxes. That's why they voted against him. If he were doing his job, he would have got 90% in the Democratic primary. And this is just a peek into the future of what's going to happen on November 4th. And I won 30% of the Democratic vote in deep blue Westchester County, where it's 2-to-1 Democrat, very liberal, by the way, and yet I won and attracted enough Democrats who cared like I do in the economy and bringing jobs back and changing the policies which are driving people away in record numbers, and also vowed to clean up the corruption. So we win this, Paul, because when you, as a Democrat, talk to fellow Democrats and say, I'm voting for Astorino because X, Y, and Z, you'd be surprised how many other Democrats are going to vote for us and how far it goes to hear from you as a fellow Democrat talking to other Democrats about why you're going to vote for me. So I could use your help, and I appreciate it very much. Let's get one more question here. What's that? Oh, yeah, I just want to tell you this, too. And, Paul, this gets into your question. This is not going to be a New York City-based race. The turnout in New York City is going to be lighter, but even so, in a typical election for governor, in a normal turnout, New York City is about 28% of the total vote. It's going to be less this year. Upstate New York counts for 50% of the total votes in this governor's race. So you have it in your power right here, to change governors if you come out to vote. And I think all the issues are right here to drive out the vote in our favor. Common Core, high taxes, bad economy, people moving away, the corruption, the SAFE Act, all of these issues I'm aligned with you on mostly. And just about everything there. And if I can get a Democrat like you, Paul, from Shenango, I can get many other Democrats to pull the lever for me as well. And if you get out to vote, we're going to win this race. All right, last question. Vern from Oswego. How are you, Vern?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great.
Your last poll question should have had all of the above answer.
Yeah, that's true.
Governor Cuomo has come out and he's laying blame for our financial stress in the state to all the 10,000 local governments that we have in this state. What he doesn't let on to believe is that a lot of them, almost 8,000 of them local governments are sewer districts, water districts, lighting districts, and can hardly be counted as governments.
That's right. Thank you.
Part of doing governments. And with the 2% tax cap, he's almost limiting the local government, which is probably the most efficient part of government that we have in this state. And he's going to bribe everyone with these little rebate checks that are probably going to cost more to send out than they're going to be. What's your take on how you can counter that and get the word that it's a by-vote scheme is what it is?
Well, Santa Claus is coming early this year. He looks like Andrew Cuomo, and he's coming out in October. And he's going to go around everywhere handing out checks, your money, by the way, and just trying to buy everyone's vote. And these rebate checks that everyone's going to get in the mail in October, that's not economic policy. That's trying to buy an election with your money. It's your money. And he's handing it back to you, and take it because it's your money. But next time tell him, you know what, just lower the tax rates and create a good economy, and I won't need this back. And that's typical of Andrew Cuomo. It's all politics all the time, meant for votes, not meant to change the state for the better. So I just want to thank everybody for your time. I really appreciate you staying on the line. I really appreciate you asking questions. I really hope that you will talk to your neighbors, that you'll look at what I've done in Westchester, where we cut property taxes, where we created 30,000 private sector jobs, where we lowered the county budget, where jobs are coming back in record numbers to Westchester. And this is what it's all about. And what I will do is we will spur the economy with the right policies. We will cut taxes in this state. We will get rid of Common Core. We will repeal the SAFE Act. We will clean up the despicable corruption right now in Albany led by this governor who's under federal investigation for that. So I ask for your vote. I ask that you go to robastorino.com and look up my real record and talk to your neighbors. And if you're so inclined, stick a bumper sticker on your car, a lawn sign on your property, and kick in a few dollars tonight online at robastorino.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, folks. Take care.